Content warning. The following show contains smoking, discussions of fictitious violence, discussions of psychological and behavioral habits, conditions, and traits. Due to the nature of this show, some people might feel like they're being attacked, but I promise you, we mean no offense or no harm to anyone. And we always, as gamers, as friends, want to find ways for people to play the best games they can and have as much fun as possible. And with that being said, viewer discretion is advised. Okay, so that was a good one. Yeah, we could totally start the music if we wanted to, right? Yeah, I guess that might be something we could do. You could make sure to turn it up. You know, we're getting at that. Yeah, let's do it. Hey everybody, how you doing out there? What is the word? What is the word? I am Solar Gray, the cinematic sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And welcome everyone to the dark side of the room. This is the show where we talk about games and life. Don't you know anything about life, Lisa? Yes, we talk about games. We talk about life. We talk about theories. We talk about so much stuff. And welcome all of you here, welcome all of you on the YouTubes, welcome all of you on any platform that you're watching or listening to this, and seriously welcome if you're watching this from the future. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me here. Now today we've got a pretty big, encompassing, and all-pervasive topic, okay? So we're going to be talking about that today. I have so much stuff on the docket. I've got this show, I'm recording something with the Nerd Soul. That's right, NERDSOUL. And of course, tonight is Warp Tumbler's C24. So yeah, I'm going to be in this chair pretty much for like the next 9 hours. But we're here, we're doing the thing, and I want to thank everyone who is here and showing up. Now, if y'all got any ways or anything that you guys want to say and all that stuff, well, it's really easy. All you got to do is pull up your keyboard and type in back in the day at gmail.com, BACKINTHEBCK at gmail.com. You can also reach out to us over on social medias, the Instagram, the Twitter, the TikTok, all that other stuff that a person would use if they were using all those social medias. The addresses are there. And I have got to check something in a different part of Wizard's Tower, so I will be right back. In the meantime, drop me an email and share this show because we're talking about a really, really big topic. So get your people, send out your private messages, slide on into people's DMs and say, hey, here's a link to the show. Check it out. This is going to be good, and we will be back in just a second. All right, like I said, that was just a little bit. I never take breaks like that during the show, but yeah, it is most definitely. So, let me also head on over and check out something real quick. I'm letting people know like what is up, what is going on, all of that stuff. My wonderful, wonderful computer. So, let me fix this up real quick. And I want to open the show today with a really, really, really big thing. And when I say a really big thing, and I mean like a really big thing, I want to share. Oops. See, there we go. I definitely want to share that that a really good friend of the channel just released a video on Invincible. That's right. Oh, now, yeah. Here we go. That. Pop that in. Yes. Okay. Coolio goes. So. Okay. Yeah, I just gotta put out a big Facebook real quick to say, hey, yeah, look at all that stuff. I'm doing the thing. I love doing the thing. So, today, we've got a major thing that we are talking about. I put in the announcements, if you guys can look right down there, that we are talking about zero-sum thinking. Because it's actually something that I've spent a lot of years, and I mean a lot of years, combating within the tabletop community squad. We're also, I've also been combating it in lots of different places. The tabletop role playing, card games, board, anything that has like a tournament type environment or a major thing. And there's a lot, and I mean a lot of different opinions and thoughts and all of those things that come down to it, okay, on the subject. And I want to crush a few myths right here or right now, okay? Because, you know, over the years, I've kind of garnished an interesting reputation over this idea that I don't like competitive players and all this other stuff. I talk about tournament players, but one of the things I got to address, we'll address a little bit after this announcement. But before we do all that, okay, before we do all that, I want to let you guys know that our partner channel, all right, our partner channel, Nerd Soul, NERD SOUL, has released today, okay, a nice, cool review. Oh, look at all that on the very special episode of Invincible that was dropped by Amazon. So y'all should check out and like, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube things at Nerd Soul. That's NERD SOUL. All right, he brings that street geek and nerd soul to the nerd space. All right, so that's all some really cool stuff. Like I said, here we're all about integration and everybody. We want voices for everybody, and we want everybody to be heard. Y'all feel me? All right, so now that we got all that stuff in here, now that we got that going, and I'm gonna be sharing the link to all of this today. I want to say hi, welcome. I apologize for not being here Thursday and Friday. This weekend, I got struck by lightning, sort of. So, but I'm back. We're normally here Monday through Friday. This has been a weird summer. And by weird, I mean very, very, very trying. It's been a very trying summer. Not just because I'm trying to do a lot of things, you know, but we got a lot of irons in the fire. Tomorrow, I'm actually hosting a Warhammer 40K Combat Patrol night here at the Wizard's Tower. No, I will not be filming it because there's a lot of folks that are coming that aren't comfortable on camera and things like that. And this is literally going to be an instruction night. So we're going to learn how to play the game, and we're going to play the game, and we're going to make a lot of mistakes, and we're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. And it is going to be so much fun if I have anything to do with it. So now that I've gotten all that stuff down, I'm guessing you mean you're going to finish watching Invincible after you finish The Power. So now that we've got all that stuff going, and I got to doctor up my coffee, sweet and creamy coffee, sweet and creamy coffee. I like my coffee sweet and creamy. I wanted to talk to you guys about this idea, since I'm going to have a bunch of people who have never played Warhammer 40K. A bunch of people who probably have never played any sort of tabletop games. Come to my house, and we're going to go through Combat Patrol, and I'm going to share with them what I've learned so far. This is very much the blind leading the blind. And this is not as unusual a thing as you would think in gaming, okay? I've talked a lot on this channel in the past about how a lot of people think that a dungeon master is someone who has a master's degree in playing a role-playing game, and, you know, oh no, I could never do it, I could blah, 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 I'll get everything wrong, I'm afraid of messing up. All these different things that people say. I'm not going to say to talk themselves out of doing cool stuff, but sort of the methodology of talking themselves out of doing cool things. Okay? And a lot of that comes from zero-sum thinking. Okay? Something that I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of at all. But what is zero-sum thinking? Well, let me do a quick thing. Hang on. What is zero-sum thinking? Yeah. Well, zero-sum thinking, as I put in the description, is this idea that states if A, then not B. So, you know, I could say stuff like that all day to my heart's content, blah, blah, blah. But what does it really mean? Well, it's very simple, guys. Very, very simple. Zero-sum thinking is the thinking that everything exists mutually exclusive to something else. Now, how does this manifest, you might say? Well, in order to win, I have to make you lose. All right? If you go up, I have to be down. And this is something that I see a lot. There's only room, not even at the top, but room in the rank of competence for one. Okay? This is a huge thing that causes so much discomfort, anger, sadness, just a bunch of really bad feelings that I wouldn't wish on anyone. What do you mean? Well, I am a musician, okay? Now, I'm an alright musician. I classify myself at maybe a C+ musician, okay? Yeah, C+. I think C+ is a pretty fair place to assess my skill. But a lot of people have this terrible notion, and I mean this, just a terrible notion, that if there exists within their purview, i.e., within their line of sight, a musician that is better, then not only am I not good on any level, I shouldn't even call myself a musician. Okay. This idea that in order to win, you have to dominate. In order to matter, okay, in order to matter, to have relevance of any kind, you have to be the best, okay? And that kind of thinking is not just unhealthy, but it's dangerous thinking, all right? Last week, across my new player journey into Warhammer 40K, I'm doing alchemy as I talk to you guys, by the way. I talk a lot about my experiences with players in my available area, okay? Now, one of the places that people are available to play to me is Orange County, California. It is not the most progressive place. And that being said, I'm saying it's not very friendly to people of color, LGBTQ the disabled. And it cannot stand the poor. Okay, it's one of those places where middle class folks believe they're poor because their parents were working class, but they live a very rich lifestyle in the constant supply of disposable income. The fact that they can go to a movie on the drop of a hat and they look at people that can't live their lifestyle as the type of person that has failed at life. Okay. And that's just the area that I really cut my teeth in as being a gamer. So that has really turned me off to a lot of games, a lot of, I guess you can say, gaming positions. And as I've gotten older, things have gotten different, you know, definitely become different as I've gotten older. And just because, yeah, they have no bus zones in most of Orange County, and their public transportation is horrible because it is a place where they believe that public transportation brings crime, therefore they don't want any public transportation. All right? And that's just the nature of that area. And there's a lot of what I call zero-sum thinking in that area, okay? This idea that there is no second place, just first loser. A few people brought up a couple of questions last week about looking at a lot of games and things through the eyes of an athlete. And these are the types of areas where that is pretty out there, okay? Where the only value is in winning. And this is where we get zero-sum thinking, okay? This idea that everything and every interaction must be tit for tat, all right? There is no generosity. There is no trust. And the sad part that I've come to learn about a lot of these places is that they don't realize that there is a lot of being trapped within that thought process. It's very sad to me. It's very, very sad to me. And you might be going, well, Solar, that's not cool to label a whole region and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, stop it, guys. Just stop. All right? Because there is a such thing called culture. And that is the place where zero-sum thinking is born. Now, when I learn how to play games, I look at every game as a game in and of itself. I don't like to get caught up in the thinking of how it used to be, my previous scars from past editions. Every time I go to learn a game, I look at the game in and of itself, okay? But there's a lot of folks, and I mean a lot of folks, that look at the very concept of game as only one of us can win. And if it is not me, then I, as a person, am a failure. Okay? Now, there's a lot of names for this. I used to call these people tournament players. Some folks I learned today in the Warhammer community call them win at all cost players. And there's a whole big lexicon, and we are going to get into that later on this week. I promise you. Because language and communication play a really big part. Okay? But when it comes to zero-sum thinking, this idea that your gain is my loss is a very unhealthy way to look at just about anything, to tell you the truth. But it's the most unhealthy way. I'll get to that, Neon. I will get to that. What was I saying before I saw that question? Oh, yeah. This level of thinking is a very, very unhealthy way of looking at a lot of things. As I said, this zero-sum mentality, and if you're new to Back on the Deck, we go deep, all right? We don't just sit with the explanations on things that a 9-year-old can understand, because I haven't been 9 years old for 37 years. So, so yeah, we deal in these really big topics. So, and understand that I am attacking no one, okay? But I am pointing out that this kind of behavior is unhealthy for all people involved. And let's go on to why. Okay. This idea that states that your gain is my loss tends to put people in a mindset of unhappiness. Okay. And when I talk about unhappiness, I hear a lot of people tell me they're perfectionists and they have all of these things that are out there. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I get that there's a whole lot of social and environmental training and a whole lot of stuff that goes along with it, that people carry with them in a lot of places. So I definitely get that. But here's the thing. When we talk about stuff like games, okay? I don't care if it's Warhammer, chess, Go, D&D, Carnivale, Twilight Imperium, Diplomacy, Game of Thrones, Settlers of Catan, Exploding Kittens, or even Cards Against Humanity, okay? The unspoken agreement is that these things were created for the purposes of having fun, okay? And if perfection is the only thing that prevents misery, okay, misery, then, sorry to tell you guys, there's no place for fun, okay? There's no place for fun if 99.994% will induce misery, all right? And this is where we get the WAAC players, okay? You know, some people call it whack, and some people call it win at all cost play. Now, the very term in and of itself, by the dictionary definitions of every single word that makes up the phrase, means all cost. That means win with violence, win with cheating, win with mind games. However, if not only victory, but domination in victory is the only methodology for having fun, this, by its own definition, means that fun is not very attainable. Okay? Why not? Why is fun not very attainable, Solar? What are you talking about? You crazy old man. You're just mad because you never win at stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Stop it. Okay? I've heard all of the complaints. I've heard all of the fights against this before. Okay? And I've been on the receiving end of every single bit of it. And here's the thing. All right? Since the underlying agreement in playing a game is to have fun, and that really is the underlying agreement. That's why they're called games and not work. Okay? There's no underlying agreement to have fun at your job. All right? There's none of that. I don't care what the HR manager lies to you about when you try and lodge a complaint against a coworker. You go to work to make money most of the time for someone else. All right? That's not supposed to be fun. If it is fun, if it is enjoyable and pleasurable, that's a bonus. But it's not the purpose of it being there. Okay? In the words of Will Smith from 30 years ago, you go to school to learn, not for a fashion show. But you play a game to enjoy yourself, not to work. Okay? That's why it's called a game and not a job. Hey, what's going on? No one, nobody. So yeah, that's a real big thing. But when people get caught up in zero sum gaming, the idea, like I said, your gain is my loss. That means they're not playing to win. They are playing to make sure that you lose. Okay? And and that is a really important distinction, okay? I have played thousands of games over the course of my life. Or should I say I've had thousands of days where I played games over the course of my life. And I have seen, I'm talking tabletop minis games, role-playing games, some sports, video games, like way back in the day, way back in the days of the PlayStation 1, I was pretty okay at fighting games. And I had a friend who, well, let me go back, okay? Even before the console wars started, we had these little places called arcades, all right? And in arcades, you would put your quarter on the machine to signify to everyone else that might have wanted to play that game that you've got the next go. All right? And the arcade machines were set up to where there were two people on it and you would play your game. You've got the screen, but each one of you had your own set of buttons and a joystick. And one of the ways that some people played this game was, and I'm talking Street Fighter or Karate Champ or any other game that had a 1v1 mode, any game that wasn't co-op, is they would put their hands on their controllers and they would scoot the body of the other person away from their controller so that they couldn't play. Okay? This is the same as some of you guys that used to play video games with each other, playing with the connection cord of your opponent's controller, or when you're, just a whole lot of different ways to cheat. All right. And this show isn't about cheating. It's about the thing that causes it, which is that zero sum game thinking. All right. That zero sum thinking. That idea that says your gain is my loss. All right. And we see this all over the place in the United States today. We really do. Not just at the gaming table, but we see it in business. We see it in entertainment. And we definitely see it in social circles, specifically in junior high, high school, and college. If we're very lucky, we don't see it much after that. Okay? But as I said, that idea that one person's loss is another person's gain, or if Ron is good at something. Oh yeah, no, it's in politics, but that's for the meeting tomorrow night down by the docks, okay, Neon? This idea, thank you, Rob W. over on YouTube. Yeah, that type of thinking is exhausted, but the behavior is very common. Okay, it's very, very common in our society. And one of the big things that comes down to it is people like to bring this idea to gaming tables. The idea that if I lose a game against this person, it means I'm not smart. So I've got to dominate them on the gaming table in order to have any value in my own eyes. I've seen this. I know a lot of people that were like this. Okay? But there are some traps that put people into this mindset. And the number one trap is the culture of your gaming environment as it is around you. This is huge. Okay? A lot of people have this thing that however they learn to do something is the way that they see that it is supposed to be done, sometimes for the rest of their lives. Okay, I have a very close friend who was taught, or someone tried to teach him Warhammer 40k, and he bought a Necron army and he painted up the Necrons, which he hated because he hates painting miniatures, because he has an engineer's eyes and not a whole lot of practice in painting miniatures. I feel him all the way. Now, me being who I am, I just like playing games. Win, lose, I like playing, I like learning. But when I went to this guy, he told me about his first game with our friend, who was very much a power gamer, a WAAC player, the type of person that says, if the rules don't specifically say that I cannot do what I'm going to do, then I'm going to do it, and you can't call it cheating because no one said I couldn't. All right? A very interesting mindset. Not one that I support, but I try not to condemn people. I do condemn behavior, but I don't condemn people. There is a difference. So, when it comes to those things, on this guy's very first game, he put his Necrons on the board, and his teacher essentially created an orc list that was all rending fire to negate all the Necrons' regeneration. He used all of his shenanigans to make it all the way across the board and essentially just closed the distance for the Necrons to use any of their ranged weapons on the first turn and took away all of their regeneration. And this was the first turn of this dude's very first game, because this player was a zero-sum thinker. Okay? Even though he's teaching someone how to play this game, it didn't come down to making sure that this person learned. It came down to making sure that they dominated this player. And that scared him away from ever playing miniature tabletop games again. He might humor us with a day to like try and learn how to play, but he ain't into it. He's just not into it. And it's really sad because this is a dude who loves making stuff. So terrain and stuff like that, it's just, dude, yeah. So when it comes down to that, I personally have never seen a place where zero-sum thinking actually benefits anyone except in the places of judgment, or not judgment, justice. Okay? When you're fighting against bad guys, we're talking bad faith actors and Germans in 1944, yeah, your loss was their gain, and their gain was your loss because they were there to take. Okay? However, not every situation in the world is life-threatening, him or me. But a lot of people, because of growing up in the 21st century in a post 9/11 world, has been, wow, that's a lot, Neon. Hang on. A lot of them have been brought up with this thinking of one side's gains is another person's loss. Okay? And let's see. There is much more than a whack player teaching a newbie. Yeah, not much worse than a whack player teaching a newbie. Well, here's the thing. If the newbies stick around for those lessons from the whack player, they learn to become whack players more often than not. Okay? Um, I had a very good friend in the early 2000s that was very much, I call him a wham player because he was a win at most costs. Okay? But but yeah, he was unyielding and unrelenting when he was teaching. And he worked with me for a little bit in learning how to teach because I was the guy that said, look, I don't understand any of the rules that you just used to do what you did. I just feel like you put me on the thing, you beat me up, and now it's up to me to figure out what just happened. And I don't have I don't have a reference point. I know what to read, but I don't know if my interpretation of what I'm reading is actually there. And the way that you're acting, I'm not even trusting you to tell me what is or isn't because it looks more important. Like, to me, it looks like you're more concerned with being right than whether or not I learn. And he actually got it in his head. He actually got that. A lot of people got it in their heads as soon as they let go of the idea that that person is just mad because they lost. And it's like, no, no, this, I don't go again. I don't like zero sum stuff. I'm not mad that I lost. I'm mad that I don't know what happened. Okay. Um, if we were in a casino environment, it's essentially I put my life savings on the table to gamble, and the nice lady smiled and took it away. I don't know if I lost the hand. I don't know how to play the game. You see what I mean? And it's not really a great metaphor because that implies that I'd be gambling with my life savings on a game I didn't know how to play. Now, I grew up in a really toxic environment where bullies would pretend to be your friends so that they can make fun of you and physically hurt you. Like, yo, man, what's up? You want to play front hand, backhand? What? Yeah. No, I'll go first. You go first. It's your turn. Front hand or backhand? Front hand. Slap. Ow. What's wrong with you? You know what? Backhand. All right. Slap. you know, those were the bullies that I grew up with. And so the idea, um, so the idea of a lot of folks pretending to be your friend while embarrassing you and kicking you around and all that stuff, that happens all too much. Okay? Um, Most people think of bad actors as these mustache twirling people that sit around a table in a smoky room and actually say BWAH, BWAH, BWAH. And that's not the whole thing. I've seen loads of flavors of bad actors, and when they're conspiratorial, they're still cuddles and smiles. So this is, I suppose you can say, the consequence of zero sum thinking in the face of bad actors and the consequences of dealing with them. Because one of the things I'm always talking about here at Back in the Deck is that times are always changing. Okay? So the definitions of things that you knew 20 years ago, they evolve, guys. They really do. You know, when I was a kid, a bully was somebody that beat the living crap out of you every single day. But now it's people that ruin your life, that stalk you, you know. And when I was growing up, bullies had parents that backed their play. So they're like, yeah, I caught your son a little twerp and I beat the crap out of him. Well, I'm going to go talk to your parents. And their parents are like, oh, well, he beat the crap out of your little twerk son? Then your son needs to get stronger. That's what it was when I was growing up. Things changed, you know? And this is why I keep going over topics again and again. But the things that don't change are the principles that lead to these things. The problem remains the same. The methodology of it evolves over time. That's how it goes. So nowadays, a lot of whack players with their bad acting, um, have infiltrated places that are casual or places that are about playing for play's sake. Even when they want to win, they still want to enjoy the experience of playing, in opposed to, hey, let's play a game that's based on objective control. All right, cool. I get all the objectives by wiping you off the board before you can play. Or let's play a game of Magic the Gathering. Cool. My entire deck is based on destroying land and countering spells. You know, is that playing or is that domination? You know, and again, a lot of this stuff comes from the mindset of zero-sum thinking. You know, tit for tat. Your gain is my loss. And these are things that people, like, I'm truly encouraging people to really evaluate. Now, when it comes to this kind of thing, because here at Back in the Deck, we love talking about solutions, okay? And I'm really big on solutions. But this problem is a tough one because it hits people's fundamental belief system. You know, this zero-sum thinking comes from a very interwoven set of beliefs solidified in the United States in the 1980s, okay? Where hostile corporate takeovers became the way to conduct all business all the time. It was further solidified in the early 2000s, where the whole point of a startup wasn't to provide a service that you enjoy doing, or to make a career out of doing something that you enjoy doing, or selling things that you liked, and sharing that experience with your customers. It was about growing your company in order to get bought out by a mega corporation like Google or Amazon or something like that. Okay, this whole idea, this whole idea of, as Rob W. said, winning by preventing you from playing, comes from the mindset of, again, any gain by that other person is a loss for me. This comes from a belief in scarcity, that there's only so much to go around. I've come to identify it in people's behavior when they talk about things, and like I said, there's only room for one good. Not one goat, not one best, one good. Okay? As I said, I'm a musician, a gamer, an actor. There's a lot of things I do. And I can't tell you who the best actor of all time is. Okay, because there's so many amazing ones from the 1940s to currently, and that's not even talking about the silent film generation of the Buster Keatons, the Charlie Chaplins, and the Lon Chaney and Lon Chaney Juniors. Okay, all of them amazing, all of them aspirational, all of them better at the craft than me. I'm cool with that. All right. However, in the zero-sum thinking, the person that they consider the best is not the best of all time, but it is the only good. And this type of thinking really limits the entire life that you can live to a tiny, 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 tiny pinhole. Okay, a tiny pinhole. How so, you might ask? Think about it with food. I like what I like. Therefore, no other food from anywhere in the world, any style, any spices, no, it's all garbage. I like potatoes. That is all. Potatoes with salt. That is it. Forget the fact that there is an entire foodie culture. Okay, all of that is garbage. The thing that, the oatmeal that my mom made me when I was 5 is the only good food that there is out there in the world. Which, don't get me wrong, on one level, I'm like, cool, I'll keep my steak to myself. Well, for me, fine, whatever. But on another level, When satisfaction, contentment is limited to one thing in a world with 7 billion people, with 30,000 years of history, oral and recorded, with millions upon billions of things that we don't know in our rainforest, let alone the entire alternate universe that is under the sea. Okay? If all of that, yes, no tie for you. Ooh, pad thai sounds good actually. If you're happy with your potato, that's one thing. But if you are miserable without your potato, and there is no room in your thinking for any other thing, that means your own happiness is limited to one thing out of everything that is attainably possible and future possible. Take a look at those odds. Okay? But again, but a lot of this mindset comes from an entire lifetime of cultural tradition. Okay? Some of it is for face, some of it is safety. I know when I was a kid, I used to really like being in the dark. Okay? I used to hang out in my cupboards like Eddie Munster. All right? And as I grew up, I realized that I cultivated that desire because I had to hide from my abusers in dark and cramped spaces. Okay? And I find that I want to go to those dark and cramped spaces when I'm going through emotional strife, or when the world becomes too heavy. I just kind of want to get a cardboard box, climb in it, and freaking tape it shut from the inside. All right? Yeah, I was that kid that played in a refrigerator. Anyway, and that's taken a bit of therapy for me to get through, or get through. Yeah, I'm vulnerable. What? I'm a human being. I'm also middle-aged, have a bad back, and my knees are going, so I have more things to spend my energy on than looking cool. Though I pull it off sometimes. Or no. But with all that being said, as it's said, okay? Hey, have a great day, Rob. Seriously. Thanks. We're working on it, and you keep being awesome too. But yeah, so those same things that came down to me in my formative years that made me want to hide in small dark places have the same time and intensity as people that are raised to believe that someone else's gain is their loss. Okay? Unless they went to college and became it's also the origin of why a lot of them grow up to be economists. But what is my what is the secret? My all-weather turtlenecks? No, my turtlenecks are not all-weather. Actually, they are only kept this way by magic. Anyway, so chess, yeah. So there's a lot of different ways to take a look at this stuff, but the major identifier for me has always been the people that were quick to go in conversation. No, that's not a knife. That's a knife. I'm like, no, they're both knives. They're both made out of metal. They can both pierce my skin. They're both knives. Thank you very much. Keep them far away from me. Thank you. And when conversations with people become a competition because they don't feel as though they have any value if you know more than them, or if you're better at something than them, or if they try and take away your value for whatever reason, when it comes to playing with them, it might not be a great idea. Okay, not if you're not willing to pay that price. Okay, and that price is a lot of emotional spoons. I will not lie. The second bit is um, if they're close to you, like your friend, one of your ride or dies, then part of friendship is paying that price off of the gaming table. You know, I do play with a lot of when it all costs zero sum players. Hey, what's going on, Matt Wookie? Um, and some people get real tilted when I start to win. A lot of the times it's because they have an idea of what games and stuff are like before we sit down. There's a lot, okay? But the really big thing, and that's a really big thing, is there's always patience because my mission is to share fun. Okay, that is what I'm here to do. I'm like, hey guys, this is fun. We can have fun. Let's do some fun. And they're like, oh man, well, I totally buried you on that game. Yeah, you did. But you know what? I was able to have Spider-Man through that building. I'm cool with that. You know, or, you know, like, I'm not saying I'm here to be a punching bag. Okay. But when it comes to that, and I want to address this before we get out of here because we got like 5 minutes left on the show. Mad Wookie, I know you love trolling those guys, but where I come from, and this is one of the things I try and push it back in the deck, we're more about healing than antagonizing. Most of the time, one of the things that I have learned very deeply in life is that most people who are out to hurt people or have this zero sum thought process are in incredible pain because hurt people. Okay. Life didn't turn out the way they want it to. They've spent their entire lives getting the crap kicked out of them socially or emotionally, and they don't know how to do it. Like, a lot of these people just need hugs and somebody to listen. Okay. And I find that trolling only tends to escalate the negative experience all the way around the board. Okay. And this is coming from someone who was trolled quite a lot. Okay. Because you guys might not know this by looking at me now, but I was the kid that bit. All right. I was the kid that was in so much pain, people would make fun of me, and I would go off and I would throw a chair at them, and then I would jump on them and I would bite them. You know, I was the kid that went to tear off cheek bits. Now I get that it's very healing for the noobs. I definitely do. However, in my experience, trolling bullies only make them bully harder next time. You know, and how long until violence? You know, that's my personal philosophy and stuff like that. You know, healing the bully and letting them know that they don't have to be that person. It takes longer, but when the noobs see that there's somebody there that wants everybody to have a good time, they stay. They definitely stay, because they'll know that somebody has their back when they're bullied, when I have their back, and I also have the bully's back, because fun is who I represent. You know, like I said, we're all about healing. Oh, stop that. It's not about being a better, I'm not trying to be a better man than anybody. I'm trying to help us all just have fun. That's it. You know, and again, that zero sum thinking, that thinking of I gain by taking away and someone else gains by taking from me, that is at the heart of a lot of, I think, Mad Wookie, you gave me this phrase, feel bad moments in games. And in a lot of interactions beyond games, because we talk about a lot of stuff with life, but shh. Now I don't want to sound all hippie and stuff talking about healing the bad guy and things like that. Okay, I'm not really that guy. Okay, I'm not that level of hippie, because if somebody escalates it to violence, believe me, I own property and I have shovels. Okay, in Roblox at least, and but at the same time, I like the idea of the person who wants to hurt someone not wanting to hurt anyone in the long term. You know, I find that most people just want to be heard and understood, and I give them that opportunity. You know, like I say at the beginning of every show, I want you guys to know I'm not attacking anyone. I want folks to know that I either see you or I'm trying to see you, and I'm not condemning you, but I want to let you know that I'm trying to understand. And in my adult life, I found that this has led to better communities, more fun games, um, and again, the healing from that zero sum thinking. All right, the zero sum thinking of um, second place is first loser. Um, if you gain, I lose. That whole mindset. Um, it's trying for everyone involved. Because I promise you, as a dude who used to be the walking embodiment of anger, I'm much less exhausted on a day to day basis now than I was back then. You know? And that's a really big thing. So when it comes to ourselves, okay, this is us as gamers, us as partners, us as people that interact with other people. Sometimes we need to check ourselves on that zero sum mindset, because that is the nature of the American culture right now in the 21st century. It wasn't always this way. I can actually remember when the changes started happening. So it became this way in my lifetime, which means it can also go a different way. Oh, stop it. Yes, yes, yes. Before you rickety wreck yourself, all right? But checking ourselves for that zero sum thinking, and ask ourselves a simple question. If I was playing with my favorite child, how close would they be to crying right now? You know, one of my personal things, and I mean this, one of my personal philosophies is do unto others as you would have them do unto your children. All right? That is a really big thing. Um, I've gotten into it with so many of my friends where they were down talking popular media. And I'm like, dude, that wasn't for you. That was for your 16-year-old niece. Are you going to say to her, who looks up to that character and wants to be strong like that character, what you said to me? Go for it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Say that. And they're like, well, I'm like, look, I know you're mad. I definitely do. But all of this is part of being mindful about who we are and what we do, and being mindful about ourselves. Am I playing this as a zero sum thing? Am I saying, all right, they killed one of my squats, so now I must kill one of them? You see what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, stop it, sad strange little man. Not all Jeffs are terrible. Not all anything is anything, except all bleach. That all cups of bleach are poisonous to humans. That's all I know. All right. Yeah, all Jeffs are terrible. I know it. I'm a Jeff. No, no, no. If you think you're terrible, then you're terrible. That's the Jeff I know you can speak for. Okay. Uh, but yeah. But yeah, when we're looking at our own behaviors and our own thought processes, you know, I'm always big on asking yourself why you're doing the thing that you're doing, and are you accomplishing that goal? But on the surface, that's a simple question. But when you look deeper, you start getting into any different places that can go deep. Again, when I define fun, I think about stories that can be told and laughter that can be had. And make no mistake, I have a pretty messed up sense of humor. Okay, a really messed up sense of humor. One of the things I used to say all the time is, we are doing this thing right now, But you know what? This is one of those actions that we are going to think about 10 years from now, laugh nervously, and change the subject about. You know? So, seriously. But with the actions that I'm performing, can I have fun? If I'm playing the Eldar in 40K, do I want to purse my lips and put my nose up and say, yes, well, I guess I'll be using one of my fate dice now. Yes, lovey. You know, I would say I could act like Mr. Howell, but I don't know who's seen Gilligan's Island at this point. Most of the stuff from my childhood, no one's heard of. You know, I could be that guy, or I could be, you know, I said something to another streamer today, because they said that doing their nails in the same color scheme as their army made them feel a little silly. And I'm like, you know, you could be playing the Emperor's Children dressed like Prince and speaking like an anime, speaking like the second in command from a freaking JRPG. You know, you could do that. That would be weird. Hilarious. Fun. But weird. But that's where I go. I like being whimsical. A lot of people I know don't like whimsy, so I got to tone that back sometimes. But there are a lot of ways, many ways, that people can have fun. Which army do I think Prince would have played? He so would have played the freaking he so would have played the Emperor's Children. He would have. Fulgrim is his jam, you know. Especially his Revolution days with all the purple and the lace. Oh yeah, that would have been him all the way across. You know. We all want a pony army, my friend. Oh wait, did you mean in Warhammer 40K? Because yeah. And in the chat, they're starting to sing the Gilligan's Island theme. Thank you guys for making me feel not so alone. But that also means that we've hit a level of we've hit a level of absurdity, and we're actually at time. So the TLDR, if people still say that, when it comes to zero sum thinking, remember that most of the things we do, well, I want to give you guys an old African proverb, okay? Which is, we may go faster alone, but we go farther together. And when it comes to things that we do with other people, even games where there is a winner, and someone who didn't win, I would say the word that goes along with that, but I'm not a fan of the last president. The object of both people playing games is to get as far within the realm of fun as possible. And having this thought of, if that person wins, I lose, and I cannot do that losing, that makes it less fun, not just for the other player, but for you as well. One of my major exercises, and Mad Wookie has seen me do this in games with him, and I'm pretty sure it got on his nerves at first, but I know he's come to appreciate it over the years. One of the exercises that I practiced in order to break the zero-sum culture thing that I was brought up in, especially in games, is to encourage your opponent. Okay? To be like, dude, you should totally charge me here, and yeah, oh man, you need 4 6s? Let's do it, man. Come on, those 6s. And you'll find that if they do roll 4 6s, you'll get that same adrenaline rush. The same parts of your brain will light up. And you will be surprised. I see this all the time on Play on Tabletop on YouTube, where every time Nick loses a big thing, he's like, does it explode? Does it explode? And it's like, dude, they're not around your explodey thing isn't around any enemies. And he's like, I don't care. And with that, it was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Everybody's in to the exploding stuff when Nick is into it, especially when he's into it and the only figures that'll be taken off the board are his, because he likes big robot, go pew pew, and explosion. And that kind of fun, my friends, is contagious. But so is zero-sum thinking. Okay? So yeah. So when it comes down to that, like I actually remember one of my first games with Mad Wookie 76 in real life. I was teaching him Grimdark Future. Okay, my very first game against him was in HeroClix, and he didn't know who the Doom Patrol was. But I was showing him Grimdark Future. I was playing him. He was playing like a really elite. I think he was playing a Grey Knights equivalent, and I was playing the Ultramarines equivalent, because I'd been watching If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, or TTS, and sure enough, I fell in love with a character called I, Kato Sicarius. Oh, it is I, Kato Sicarius. And I say that Robo Gilliman has given me the order to do this. And I was doing that every single time I picked up my captain. And he was like, okay, what are you doing? And I explained it to him, and then I started doing it again for most of the game, and he was laughing so hard, and I was laughing so hard. And yeah, I did a couple of plays that gave him a feel bad moment accidentally, because I did not think that my dice would be that hot. And he did a couple of things that messed up my overall strategy, but we had so much fun playing that game, and it was just it was a great experience for both of us, so yeah. So yeah, honestly, my gig is to be wacky and whimsical, but I also always encourage the people that are playing against me, because you're learning, Mad Wookie. You're learning, all right? And I understand we talked about where you learned kind of that last week when we were talking about how athletes going into gaming come in with an athletic mindset. It's a thing. And again, it's not permanent. And, again, it just takes a little bit of mind changing and a little bit of mind tweaking. It's a thing. So with all that, guys, I want you guys to really think about it. If you get into a game tonight or sometime this week, try encouraging your opponent. Try encouraging your opponent to play the best that they can while you're playing the best that you can. And if they feel condescended to by doing that, then you might be dealing with a zero-sum thinker. And just stay kind. Stay compassionate. And real talk, if they're too far gone, they won't want to play with you anymore anyway. But if they can come back, they'll evolve. But with that, I got to say thank you guys for joining me. If, for some reason, you guys want to get a hold of me, you can always hit me up at backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK. At gmail.com. You can also hit me up on the social medias, also at Back in the Deck. You can hit me up on them tickety TikToks, that clock application, at BidP. That's BIDPY. And if you're part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy, known as Facebook, join the group Deckers on the Boat. All right, talk with us. All of us have our electronic leashes on. And these are ways that you can get a hold of us, all that stuff. And remember, if anybody tells you guys that you can't play what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability neurospice. I love the term neurospice versus neurodivergent. Yeah, your neurospice or your budget, because everyone who's ever been to one knows that the trailer park is always in walking distance from the hood. You can tell those people to take those cards and put them back in the deck. I'm Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys, and we will see you next time on the dark side of the room. The crap did my phone go? Your phone's in your pocket.
Recording in progress.
Recording is in progress.
Right. Most I gotta do what we gotta do.
Yep. Were you watching the show? Were you watching the show?
No, I was trying to wrangle the youngster and give him his.
Bruh, say no more. Say no more. I would have turned into the show, but I had to go get my fishing net for the kid. Yeah, got it.
I got that. I got made sure to play some good old Lego Batman for the little guy. So.
When you say that, you mean put on the movie or literally play with Legos?
The Lego Batman game. It's,
Oh, it's a game. Okay.
it's this is just get Batman and Robin. I don't think you can play anyone else, but it's those two.
Hmm.
So yeah. So we played for 30 minutes. Well, a little bit longer than 30 minutes, but you know.
Oh, I feel you.
That's pretty much it. Try to, you know, give him a little bit of that. I leave him a little bit of video game like about once a week or so.
Well, very cool.
I try. But let's see. Let me go on. Alright, cool. Oh, did you get a chance to see? Have you seen or well, one are you interested in Invincible? I can't remember. Like,
Dude,
you
I've
were on
seen.
the show with us in season 1.
Yeah.
But I can't remember if you were like still. Are you still on the train or are you like I don't care?
I'm on the train. I'm just not in the front car. Like, I didn't know that they dropped a new episode.
Yeah, that Adam Eve special presentation. There's something specific in there that I wanted to pull out. But whenever you watch that, let me know because I want to definitely talk about something specific in there that I saw that I thought you might be interested in.
All right. Yeah, I'll probably watch it tonight after I run the D&D game.
Alright, cool. So yeah, tomorrow or maybe tomorrow or maybe Wednesday might be better. But yeah, we can get together and talk because there is something that I think is interesting that I think we could, at least chat for about 15 or so about.
Mike, I'm going to be real with you. I don't think we've ever only talked 15 minutes about anything.
Well, alright, cool. Well, we got a lot to talk about, so I'm going to drop it down. Hold up, here we go. Late ill kid at one young son holding down let's speak in that shirt. That nerd soul, man. It's Star Trek time. You best believe it. Alright, you better showing that young man. When nerd soul gonna talk about Star Trek and I've been waiting. You know what I'm saying? Don't nobody do it up like him and the cinematic sorcerer who I have right here. I'd like to introduce y'all to. So I agree. What's up?
Hey, everybody. How's it going? This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, coming at you from the Wizard's Tower. And, you know, I have a poster, and it is pinned up. I hope we're saying the same thing.
Oh, Supreme's mom, aka uh, Suppress, whatever the girl name was. Look, I her mama is a full hater. I
Bruh.
full hater. And the
Bruh.
truth is, the dad comes in, he's like, this is good. She was like, they're not up to code. He's like, oh yeah.
You know, I did notice that when I was looking at this episode. I'm like, there seems to be this trope of intolerable mom and cool dad on TV shows now. And I'm like, when did that happen? Because it was the same thing for Miss Marvel.
It used to be like smart mom and dumb dad.
Yeah. And now it's, I want him as my dad, but oh my God, I don't want her as my mom.
Man, like even I mean she's cool the whole man. Look, she's cool the whole time. And the trip is they have this like they have their little awareness ritual or whatever. It's basically just a roast. It's like for like 60 seconds you get to just burn this person. Alright, anything you don't like, you can just burn them up. And
Which I support 100%, by the way. I am all in on that. Just like, all right, look, future mother-in-law, you got 60 seconds to go up one side of me and down the other. Get it out now. Because once I put that ring on it, I don't want to hear this no more.